is a picture of a child that doesn't exist. This was created by a generative adversarial network, by an AI. This child is not real. He may look real. That may look like a real kid to you, but that is a composite image that an AI made out of lots of other images, and it's getting more and more sophisticated all of the time. And in fact, it's getting so sophisticated now that studies are showing, and this one just came out, it was just published a couple of days ago, that humans now find AI-generated faces more trustworthy than the real thing. So we are at that point now where people are unable to distinguish now between sophisticated machine-generated humans, pictures of people, and actual pictures of actual living, breathing people. The veil between those two worlds is so thin as to basically be non-existent at this point. And so this was a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and the results suggest that real humans can easily fall for the machine-generated faces and even interpret them as more trustworthy than genuine pictures of actual human beings. It says, we found that not only are synthetic faces highly realistic, they are deemed more trustworthy than real faces, says study co-author Hani Farid, a professor at the University of California at Berkeley. The result raises concerns that these faces could be highly effective when used for nefarious purposes. Or at all. I mean, just, they could show you 20 faces of people and say, this is these people, and this is what happened to them, here's a whole backstory about them, and why you should care, and blah, 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 blah. And literally none of them could be real. That's the level. It's beyond deepfakes. It's like whole realities can now be created by artificial intelligence, and nobody would know if they don't question anything. And even if you do question it, it's going to become impossible to tell. And so they compiled 400 real faces of actual people and 400 synthetic versions of people. And they asked 315 people to distinguish using 128 images, and they gave them as long as they needed to do that. And then there was another group of 219 participants who actually received training and feedback on how to spot fakes to try to help them a little bit, right? And then they had a group of 223 participants that rated a selection of 128 images for their trustworthiness of whether or not that image was real. The first group did not do better than a coin toss at telling real faces from fake ones with an average accuracy of 48.2%. The second group, the one that was trained to spot fakes, failed to show a dramatic improvement, receiving only about 59%. And that's even with feedback about their choices to try to help them. And the group that was rating trustworthiness gave the synthetic faces a slightly higher average rating of 4.82 compared to 4.48 for real, actual living human beings. And it says the researchers weren't expecting these results and that they initially thought the synthetic faces would be less trustworthy than the real ones, but that did not happen. It did say that they were able to overwhelmingly identify certain fakes as being fake. But overall, it was basically a coin toss, which means it's getting to a point of impossible to tell.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
And this is the study. It was done through the Department of Psychology at Lancaster University in the UK and the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences at University of California, Berkeley. There's just a couple comments down here that I wanted to read to you in the discussion. It says, synthetically generated faces are not just highly photorealistic, they are nearly indistinguishable from real faces and are judged more trustworthy. And they thought that was the most interesting part, that synthetically generated faces were deemed more trustworthy. Synthetically generated faces have emerged on the other side of the uncanny valley. This should be considered a success for the fields of computer graphics and vision. But at the same time, easy access to high-quality fake imagery has led and will continue to lead to various problems, including more convincing online fake profiles, and as synthetic audio and video generation continues to improve, problems of non-consensual intimate imagery, fraud, and disinformation campaigns with serious implications for individuals, societies, and democracies. We therefore encourage those developing these technologies to consider whether the associated risks are greater than their benefits. They always say stuff like that, don't they? I bring this up all the time and I feel like a freaking broken record saying it, but how many times have we heard them warn, like, are the benefits outweighing the risks here? Like, it doesn't ever stop a damn thing, does it? Not ever.
If you extrapolate into the future and say, well, how good, let's say, will video games be in 100 or 200 or 1,000 years from now?
If you extrapolate that out into the future with any rate of progress at all,
if you assume any improvement at all,
if you assume any rate of improvement at all,
any rate of improvement at all,
like even 0.1% or something like that,
any improvement, 1%, 0.1%,
then the games will become indistinguishable from reality.
then eventually those games will be indistinguishable from reality.
Beyond a certain resolution, indistinguishable from reality. They'll be indistinguishable.
It'll be so realistic, you will not be able to tell the difference between that game and the reality as we know it.
then games will be indistinguishable from reality.
So